Hello, this is Skylit Lake reading Icarus by Marble Glove. Chapter 7. A Judas. Dear Sir, when I first wrote to you, I did so after a great deal of thought and planning to remain anonymous. You do not have a comfortable or safe reputation, and yet we have achieved great things together in creating a cure for lycanthropy. I would not wish to stop there. You are correct in saying that if we are to direct our further research into finding a cure for your own condition, we must meet. Ron looked up from the letter. Harry, you know who is asking to meet our Hermione. This is a chance to ambush him. He'd never notice us in our animagi form. A horse and a kestrel. Especially if Hermione's distracting him. Do you really want to have the final battle happen whenever he decides? For the past 7 years, we've been on the defense. I think it's time to take the offense. I know you're right, Ron, but I'm not ready. I can't cast a death curse. I just can't. I tried, and I do hate him, and I want him dead badly. But I can't get that death curse to work. Harry's shoulders slumped in defeat. There was self-hatred that he couldn't manage to save his parents and protect his friends. They needed him, but of all the powerful and difficult spells he could cast, Avada Kedavra just wasn't one of them. Come on, Harry. If you don't kill him now, he'll kill you. I know! Hermione broke into the beginning of the argument. Avada Kedavra is a high-level dark art spell. There's no reason to believe that Harry should be able to cast something like that. But I have to. Hermione nibbled on her lip for a moment. No, there are other ways to kill someone. How's your transfiguration coming? Decent. And we did the animagi training together, remember? Ah, yes, I can make a spell for you. It would be a variation of the animagi spell, but cast on someone else. It's a less complicated version of the cure spell for lycanthropy. Her eyes were focused on something neither of her friends could see. The boys looked at each other, and then back at her. Ron tentatively asked, What would this spell do? I think it will please you more than not to know that even as my respect for you grows, as have my appreciation for what you have done for me, I have never lost my wariness of you. You are a powerful Dark Lord, and the newspapers give weekly accounts of those you have killed or terrorized. And yet, over the course of our correspondence, I have come to believe that you do not mean me any harm. This is my belief, but I know perfectly well that I could be wrong. I would like to meet with you. However, I do not feel like I can do so without first gaining certain guarantees. Hermione took a deep breath and then went into lecture mode. Looking at the theory helped distract her from the realization of what exactly she was contemplating. Every person has inside of them maps of what their body should look like. Lycanthropes have double descriptions of their body, one for the human form, one for the animal form. The Animagi spell creates extra animal maps and puts it into you, and then gives you control over which map of the body should be reading at any given time. Werewolves have the extra map, but they do not have control over which map is read. Yeah, I understand that much from your article. Neither of us are incompetent. Anyway, Hermione went on, rather huffily, ostentatiously ignoring the interruption. I can develop a spell that will sort of scramble all the information on the body map. We're currently working on a set of spells that would help him refine his body into something more appealing. Hermione wasn't sure which of the two boys snorted at that, but she ignored it anyway, and continued. A spell that randomly changes information wouldn't be all that hard. The body map then describes something that isn't a viable creature. So, what happens then? Does he turn into a pile of goo? Harry asked in morbid fascination. Ron made a grimace of distaste at the mental image, but also listened for the answer. Hermione nibbled once more on her lip in thought. No, I don't think so. I mean, since you're casting it on someone else, it won't be that strong. It won't immediately force the body to change. At least, not the basic spell that I'm thinking of. It will just mean that the next time his body has to stabilize itself, it won't be able to. She squinted into the distance for a moment, in the manner of one making concession. He'll probably have immediate liver and kidney failure. Okay, so you're suggesting we wait around for him to die of kidney or liver failure, even though those take weeks to actually kill anyone, and they're easily curable. Somehow that doesn't strike me as the most surefire way to off a powerful wizard. Hermione casually reached over and smacked Ron lightly upside the head. Her eyes remained focused on something only she could see. It would mean that his body couldn't correct for minor mishaps, and it wouldn't be able to build and control the energy he needed. Any magic on his part would backfire, and wind up killing him. He certainly wouldn't be able to successfully cast an Unforgivable, and he wouldn't survive the attempt. Almost any spell cast on him would send him into systematic failure. A basic stunning spell should guarantee his death at that point. First, I would meet with you in the Forbidden Forest. I would be accompanied by a horse, Bucephalus. You would, if you wish, be accompanied by your own familiar. If we meet, I will give up the anonymity that shields me from you. I would prefer not to give up the anonymity that shields me for the rest of the world. Second, in hopes that you will reciprocate, I give you my own wand oath. I hereby give you my wand oath in writing, that should we meet as suggested, during that meeting I will not act against you magically or physically, unless it be in self-defense. Because of your greater power, both personally and through those sworn to your service, I need a greater wand oath from you before my nerves are sufficiently soothed. Swear to me that you will not seek to harm me either at this meeting or after. Swear to me that you will not use the knowledge of my identity against me. Ron whistled appreciatively. There's no way a spell like that isn't illegal. Harry rolled his eyes. You do remember that the death curse you were telling me to cast is not only illegal, but unforgivable, right? Yeah, but a spell that leaves you alive but weak enough to be killed by any magic, either yours or others? I can already see the potential torture scenes of casting it on an enemy and then leaving them. Hermione was shaking her head though. No, it's not illegal. Hermione looked at her with a patent disbelief. Hermione shrugged. The Ministry has a list of illegal spells. This one isn't on it. Yeah, that's because you just made it up, or are about to make it up, or whatever. They don't know about it yet. At any rate, so of course it's not on their list yet. Doesn't matter. As long as it's not on the list, it's legal. As soon as they find about it, it'll be put on the list and made illegal. But until that point, it's perfectly legal. Blimey, Hermione, do you mean that you could become a reigning Dark Lord, killing all sorts of people, and not go to jail for it because you invented the spell? Hermione grimaced. More or less, yeah. Of course, murder by whatever means is still illegal, but I wouldn't be imprisoned for using dark magic as long as I was careful. And I don't think Harry's going to get in trouble for killing Lord Voldemort. You've got a point there. So, Harry, are you up for it? You learn the spell of Hermione's. She writes back to her dear, dear, dear Dark Lord, and we go take out you-know-who once and for all. I'm up for it. Harry grinned. Guys, don't you think you're being a little rash? I mean, going to meet you-know-who. Look who's talking. You're the girl who's writing to him. Well, yeah, but I didn't ever intend to see him face to face. Now here's your big chance. Ron and Harry grinned at her. She smiled back rather weakly. Yeah, my big chance. I tremble with a mixture of excitement and fear, hope and despair, as I compose this letter. I am unsure whether I desire you to meet these requirements or not, but with those guarantees, I will meet you. Swear an oath and name a date, and I will meet you then. Yours, with utmost respect, Icarus. Chapter 8. A Loss. Dear Diary, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I am too energized to sleep, but too frazzled to concentrate on anything important. I haven't kept a diary for years, and I'll probably have to destroy this as soon as I finished writing it. But hopefully, just getting my thoughts down onto paper will help. The boy who lived killed you-know-who. Studying the dark arts was a dangerous and often fatal enterprise. Those who survived did so by achieving supreme arrogance. To falter or hesitate was to sign one's own death certificate. Of course, those who died in the attempt also did so by achieving a supreme arrogance, such that they got themselves into the situation that killed them. Studying the dark arts never became safe, but it instilled in its practitioners an odd mixture of paranoia of threat and contempt for those threats. They saw the possibility for ambushes everywhere, and they knew themselves to be impervious to those ambushes. It's caught everybody rather off guard, which is kind of funny, but not really. It didn't happen in a anticlimactic battle between good and evil. There weren't battle lines drawn up or innocent lives at stake. It was an ambush and a betrayal and a death. And then the rest of the night lying about what actually happened. There are 4 people who know the truth, and one of them was a Dark Lord who's now dead. Then there's me, Harry, and Ron. We slipped quietly out of the castle. I met the Dark Lord face to face, and it was wonderful. I was so scared, and I really hoped that Harry would attack immediately. But he didn't. And so the Dark Lord and I sat down and discussed ways of using arithmancy to analyze DNA sequences, or possibly even produce some. I had never seen Lord Voldemort before, although Harry described him as ugly and snake-like, with red eyes. I suppose that's all true, but it is also true that he was beautiful and elegant in his extreme emancipation, like an Hermione sketch, grotesque when considered a human, but enthralling when thought of as something completely unique and other. He used his hands when he spoke. It was almost like he was casting a spell as he spoke in his hoarse soprano murmur. Perhaps he was. Lord Voldemort knew that both he and Icarus, his correspondent, were walking a very fine line. The danger to him was in confiding anything to an unknown individual who had not sworn loyalty. There was a good chance that Icarus originated from the side of the wizarding world that opposed Lord Voldemort. Icarus was more deeply enmeshed in danger, however. She shared the danger of confiding in a little understood individual, and this one was known to be the Dark Lord, and Icarus's danger was compounded by the seduction inherent in the dark arts, the taint that could not be avoided. The entire wizarding world searched for answers to the question, who developed a cure for lycanthropy? With Icarus dabbling in the dark arts, it was certain that she could not have told anyone what she was doing. No one could be relied on to hold a confidence when confronted with the temptation of fame for presenting the knowledge to the public, or the position of moral superiority by presenting the information to the Ministry Aurora Department. Icarus could have no recourse for support from others. She would have been betrayed long before if she had tried to depend on the weak ties of friendship. It would be unnecessary then for Lord Voldemort to appear with minions of his own. He would meet with Icarus, one-on-one. And of course, of the 2 of them, one was an experienced practitioner of the dark arts, and one was a novice. If there was a betrayal or an ambush, Lord Voldemort felt confident that he could return it with interest, and he prepared a much more insidious ambush of his own. Sometime during our talk, I finally succumbed to temptation and fell in with him. I'm not even sure what love is, but I gave it to him. But it was too late. The ambush was already in motion. I was just the bait. And then there was Harry, and the spell was cast. I hadn't even noticed Harry before that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I'm not sure whether I would have warned the Dark Lord or not. Love is different from loyalty after all. But which would have proved to be stronger. The Dark Lord recognized the spell. Not specifically, of course, but enough to know that he could not use magic without endangering himself. I saw the realization come even as the spell struck him. With no warning, he could not dodge the spell. With no previous knowledge, have preset personal wards. The spell hit, took effect, and turned him into a walking dead man. He was furious, and he gripped his wand tightly, but he didn't attempt to raise magic. He snarled at me, but then turned his back on me as if I were nothing, and he and Harry just stared at each other. Ron had transformed back into human to prompt Harry into casting the final stunning spell. It probably added insult to injury that he was finally taken down by such a minor spell as that. I cried, and Harry apologized for taking so long, and swore that he would never allow harm to come to me. I was harmed, I was seduced, and I fell. And maybe I didn't have time to betray my own principles with any act, but I certainly betrayed them with my thought. Lord Voldemort had a variety of ways he used to bring people to his side. Over the past many years, he had used a mixture of threat and bribery. He had sufficient power and sufficient reputation at this point that both were believable. But when he had been young and beautiful, he occasionally used different means. Imperio was not good enough when you wanted a follower who was both smart and powerful. The stronger coercive potions either caused irreparable damage to the subject or were obvious when used and had simple antidotes. Fate had sent Icarus to him with subtle direction, and he would have to keep her with control. Thus, it was little more than a pheromone that he created and rubbed onto his hands and face. Softly, softly, he would coax her to take that one last step into his life, his world, his control. And then we had to go back to the castle, trailed by the Dark Lord's body in mobile corpus. We double-checked our stories on the way back. We had gone out together to practice our animagi forms. Then we could apologize profusely for having illegal animagi forms, and for leaving school grounds, and trying to avoid rolling our eyes at the insincerity of our own apologies. And while we were out, Harry had been twitchy and seen something out of the corner of his eye, and cast a stunning spell without thought. The evidence all showed that he died from a stunning spell. The Auroras summoned were confused and unhappy that their most feared enemy had been so easily killed, but there was no evidence that my killing curse was cast. They think it was the Dark Lord's own mistake, making him weak. I suppose in a way it was. He made me his weakness, and I used it. The history books will describe him as a failure, and I am perhaps the only person alive today who recognizes him as the greatest wizard of our times. Lord Voldemort spent days simmering in anticipation of his meeting with Icarus. He would have to be wary at first, but soon he would have her as his new apprentice, his new follower. Soon, soon, he would meet her and see who Icarus was. Soon, soon, who she truly was would be his. I miss him already, Hermione. Hello, 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 my dear friends. I hope you enjoy this latest installment of Icarus. This is finally the climax has been reached, and it is a beautiful climax, I have to say. And I hope you guys enjoy the new audio quality because I'm trying a new method out. It involves me like putting my sensitivity way lower than it needs to be, and then just speaking very loudly, but I have to be careful with my P's and my f and s and sh and k, t, t, d, not d, but yeah, and t, 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 turntables, yeah. I have to be careful with all those sounds because then I just push air into my mic and that gives a weird spike in the readings, and I can't really get rid of it without drastically changing the sounds. But honestly, it doesn't really matter because, yeah, I'll have to figure out a new macro to adjust for this new recording method because my previous macro was very obtrusive, so yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!